Hermann Ebbinghaus is the forgotten father of memory research, whose pioneering work laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of human cognition. His groundbreaking experiments on himself, using made-up words and clever techniques, revealed the inner workings of memory in ways that still influence psychology today. As we delve into his extraordinary life, you'll discover how one man's obsession with forgetting led to a legacy that will forever change how we remember. As we explore the life of Hermann Ebbinghaus, it's fascinating to note that his early years laid the foundation for his future work in memory research. Born on January 24, 1850, in Barmen, Germany, Ebbinghaus grew up in a family that valued education and intellectual pursuits. His father, Karl Ebbinghaus, was a merchant who encouraged his son's curiosity and love for learning. Hermann's childhood was marked by a strong emphasis on literature, philosophy, and languages, which would later influence his approach to understanding human memory. Ebbinghaus's educational journey began at the gymnasium in Barmen, where he excelled in his studies, particularly in languages and philosophy. He then went on to study philosophy at the University of Bonn, where he was deeply influenced by the works of philosophers such as Aristotle and Kant. It was during this time that Ebbinghaus developed a keen interest in the human mind and its workings, which would eventually lead him to pursue a career in psychology. One of the most significant events in Ebbinghaus's life was his discovery of the work of Gustav Fechner, a German philosopher and physicist who is considered one of the founders of modern psychology. Fechner's book, Elements of Psychophysics, had a profound impact on Ebbinghaus, as it introduced him to the concept of measuring mental processes using scientific methods. This encounter sparked Ebbinghaus's fascination with the quantitative study of human consciousness and laid the groundwork for his future research on memory. As Ebbinghaus delved deeper into the field of psychology, he became increasingly interested in the concept of forgetting. He realized that most researchers were focused on how we learn and remember, but few had explored the process of forgetting. This curiosity led him to design a series of innovative experiments, using himself as the subject, to study the mechanisms of forgetting. By creating lists of nonsense syllables and testing his own ability to recall them over time, Ebbinghaus was able to demonstrate the existence of a forgetting curve, a phenomenon where the rate of forgetting slows down over time. Ebbinghaus's work on the forgetting curve was groundbreaking, as it challenged the traditional view that memory loss was a random process. Instead, he showed that forgetting follows a predictable pattern, which can be influenced by factors such as the difficulty of the material, the amount of practice, and the passage of time. This discovery has had far-reaching implications for our understanding of human memory and has influenced fields such as education, psychology, and neuroscience. As Ebbinghaus's work on the forgetting curve gained momentum, he became increasingly fascinated by the mechanisms underlying human memory. He began to explore the concept of savings, which refers to the phenomenon where previously learned information can be relearned more quickly than newly introduced material. To investigate this, Ebbinghaus designed a series of experiments in which he would learn a list of nonsense syllables, then attempt to relearn them after a period of time had passed. By measuring the amount of time it took him to relearn the material, he was able to demonstrate that savings do indeed occur, and that the amount of savings is directly related to the amount of time that has elapsed since the initial learning. One of the most interesting aspects of Ebbinghaus's research on savings is the way it highlights the complex interplay between forgetting and remembering. As he noted in his own writings, the more we forget, the more we retain. This seemingly paradoxical statement reflects the idea that forgetting is not simply a passive process, but rather an active one that involves the gradual pruning of unnecessary information from our memories. Ebbinghaus's work on memory also had significant implications for our understanding of human learning. By demonstrating the importance of spaced repetition and the need for gradual incremental practice, he laid the groundwork for modern theories of learning and education. His research also highlighted the importance of active recall, which involves actively trying to remember information rather than simply passively rereading it. As Ebbinghaus himself noted, The best way to retain something in memory is to try to recall it without looking at the original material. This simple yet powerful insight has had a lasting impact on our understanding of how we learn and remember new information. In addition to his work on memory, Ebbinghaus was also deeply interested in the broader philosophical implications of his research. He saw his studies on forgetting and remembering as part of a larger exploration of the human condition, one that spoke to fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness and the human experience. As Ebbinghaus delved deeper into the mysteries of memory, he began to explore the concept of interference, which refers to the way in which new information can disrupt our ability to recall previously learned material. He designed a series of experiments to test the effects of interference on memory, using his own mind as the laboratory. In one notable study, he learned a list of nonsense syllables, and then, after a period of time had passed, he attempted to learn a new list of syllables that were similar, but not identical, to the original list. By measuring the amount of time it took him to learn the new list, he was able to demonstrate that interference from the original list significantly impaired his ability to learn the new material. This discovery had important implications for our understanding of how we learn and remember new information. Ebbinghaus realized that when we encounter new information, it doesn't exist in isolation. Rather, it interacts with the vast network of associations and memories that already exist in our minds. This interaction can either facilitate or hinder our ability to learn, depending on the nature of the relationships between the old and new information. As he noted in his writings, the mind is not a blank slate, but a complex web of associations, and every new piece of information must be woven into this web in order to be retained. He realized that when we first learn new information, it exists in a fragile state, susceptible to disruption or forgetting. However, as time passes and the information is repeated or rehearsed, it becomes increasingly consolidated until it eventually becomes a stable part of our long-term memory. This process of consolidation, Ebbinghaus discovered, is critical for the formation of lasting memories, and his research on this topic laid the foundation for later theories of memory consolidation. As Ebbinghaus's reputation as a leading expert on memory grew, he began to attract the attention of other prominent psychologists of his time. One notable contemporary was William James, who was deeply influenced by Ebbinghaus's work on memory and incorporated many of his ideas into his own writings on psychology. The two men engaged in a lively correspondence, exchanging ideas and debating the latest theories and discoveries in the field. Ebbinghaus also had a significant impact on the development of educational theory, as his research on spaced repetition, active recall, and interference influenced the way teachers and educators approached the learning process. His groundbreaking discoveries on spaced repetition, active recall, and interference have had a lasting impact on educational theory and practice, influencing generations of psychologists, educators, and learners alike. As Ebbinghaus himself so eloquently put it, the best way to retain something in memory is to try to recall it without looking at the original material, a simple yet profound insight that speaks to the very heart of human learning and memory. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.